All right, so we got a couple things to talk about today. We're going to start off with Eli Manning retiring officially from the New York Giants, from football, all that stuff. And honestly, I don't know that I have a ton to say, especially in light of some of the more recent retirements that we've seen. This is pretty tame. I mean, you got a guy that everybody's like, hey, he's been at the end of the rope. Not sure how much interest that would have been for him outside of the Giants, and had a career that he's able to walk away from. And so, not too shocked, of course, especially since he's no longer the starter. So there's all that, new coach, all that good stuff. So I don't know, there's a whole lot to dig into. I know there's a tendency to, reminisce fondly. And I'll reminisce. I don't know how fond it is, because a lot of people are talking about Hall of Fame. I don't know that I think Eli Manning is a Hall of Fame quarterback. I don't know that I ever thought he was a great quarterback. Like, you can't deny his accomplishments. And there's always going to be that separation. There's always going to be like, oh, you won the regular season award, give him the regular season trophy. Or this guy is just a playoff guy like Nick Foles or whatever. And so we can debate back and forth what's more important and everything. We know the resume as far as the championships and all that. And I'm not big into numbers, and I'm not digging into the numbers for Eli Manning. So don't hit me with, he has the exact same completion percentage for 20-yard passes on second down and long. Like, I don't care. Like, cool. I just, the eye test, the presence, and the late game, all that stuff that we've seen over the years, I would not say that I've ever was like, yeah, Eli Manning's like an elite quarterback. I don't think he ever got to that status while he was in the league. And so I don't know that I could say I see him as a Hall of Famer. Doesn't mean he doesn't have a great career. And, people tend to go 0 to 100, black and white in today's society. You love it or you hate it. And that's not the case. Like, you can have a good career. You can have a great career. You got 2 rings. 2 rings that came. Tom Brady can have 8 rings right now. And so, but thanks to Eli and the Giants, that's not the case. So, very storied championships. The giant slayer, as it will. And so I think that's fine. Like, you see him and his family, again, able to walk away on his own accord, like, great football family. Peyton Manning moved on. Now he's moving on. Just let's move on. Like, I'm not going to argue about the Hall of Fame stuff. I think he should have retired years ago, to be honest with you. But we're starting to see the end of that era. We're starting to see Eli. Phillip is probably close. Ben Roethlisberger, I don't think he has too many years. Drew Brees, I know he wasn't in that class, but Drew Brees, Tom Brady, kind of that old guard is starting to move away. And, it's a time to look back, appreciate everything that happened. I'm sure Giants fans are happy about those 2 Super Bowls. I know they're not probably too happy about what time was wasted with OBJ, but, it is what it is. I think Eli was a certain type of quarterback, and there was a ceiling on how good he can be. And I think he made the most of his time in the league. So shout out to Eli Manning. On a not so happy note, you got Antonio Brown back in the headlines. So if you haven't heard, Antonio Brown was, or he turned himself in, went to jail. He's out on bail, though. I'm not going to get too much to this incident. Honestly, that's not what it's even about. Like, this is just the latest in a long string of incidents. And it is a little different because he is like, it goes down as battery, assault and battery, and robbery, but it does sound like they tried to fight this some driver, and they also sound like they weren't really stealing his stuff, more so than trying to trash it, but doesn't matter. The point is, a lot of people have been talking about CTE and brain damage with Antonio Brown, and I think they are very much, I wouldn't say they're connecting dots that aren't there. Those dots definitely are there. but I think people are making leaps in logic without no real evidence. And so people are really pushing this narrative that I think they constructed about why he's acting like that. And it could be possible, but I don't know. I just don't like this whole matter of fact thing about it's CTE and blah blah blah, because listening to different people, and I'm glad there's some like shows and people that are giving opposite viewpoints. Like, I don't think it's that at all. And they talked about certain players and the things they've done who never played football, and they played a different sport that wasn't even contact and never had a concussion. So it's not like this can't be anything else but concussions and CT. That's not the case. It's fine to put that out as a theory, but some people are acting like that is a fact. It's not a fact. But what I think is not a fact, but I think very close as a strong theory, is something is mentally wrong with Antonio Brown. Now, what caused it, we don't know, but something's wrong with him, in my opinion. And you see the erratic behavior, you see all this, and at first it was being a diva, then it grew into being more of a cancer, then it grew to you're just not employable, now it's growing to you're about to be in jail. Who knows what's coming next? But the fact to me, or really the conversation to me, is that he's not going to play in the league again. He's just not. I don't personally think so. And there have been conversations about, especially after Ray Rice and all that, about employing people that do not crazy, but bad things. And they're talking about enabling. And I think that's one conversation, to say your gifts are more valuable to me than your morals. That's one conversation. But in this case, if you were to bring Antonio Brown in, I think that's exploitation of a human being. To me, that's worse. It might not be worse to other people, but I think any educated person can see something is going on with Antonio Brown mentally, and he needs help. And so even if he beats his charges or whatever is going on, he's able to play. I think to let him play right now would be a detriment to him. And we've seen that with other players too, and that's why this whole CTE thing is annoying. But it wasn't to this extent, but we've seen it with other players where they needed the game to be taken away from them so they could understand what they miss, what the consequences are, and maybe start to force to see themselves as they really are, where they have to get some help. Now, Antonio Brown is court ordered to get a mental evaluation and all that stuff, so we'll see what comes of that. But at the same time, I just think that in any good conscience, Antonio Brown's not going to play. He's already 30-something. If I'm a team, it's going to take at least, in my mind, a 2-year span before I feel he's ready. Because you could watch the videos, and again, it's not about him going to jail, what he went to jail for. I mean, it kind of is, but look how he's snapping at the person. Like, I don't know if that's his lawyer or who it is, but he's just snapping at him. And he says, just go get the car. I don't need you acting like my chaperone. Just go get the car. He's saying this on camera to a dude that's helping him, another human being. And what that says to me is an issue I've seen with a lot. And you don't got to be that famous or rich to have these issues. Trust me. You just have a little popularity, a little sauce. Like, you see these high school kids that are a big recruit. They all got it. That arrogance that people, like, the world revolves around you. And not only that it revolves around you, but whenever things happen, it's somebody doing it to you. It's not you doing it. And there's just this cloud where you just can't accept what's actually happening and your responsibility in it. And so to me, as an owner or a coach, number one, that's what he has to do. And he's not even there. Now, once you do that, because the court ordered stuff is fine, that's going to be a starter. But once you make the decision to admit you have a problem and start to seek help, then there's a whole process. And then after the process, you say, hey, Antonio Brown's rehabilitated or he's better. Now I need to see him prove that. So to me, he's not going to be on the field till he's 35. So I don't see, unless he might be he is an amazing athlete, but unless he's more amazing than we thought, I don't think he's stepping back on the field at 35 and being anything close to what he was. So if I'm an owner, I'm writing Antonio Brown off. And that's not even looking at the obvious distractions and cancer. But for me to take him, he would have to be back he would have to be at a point where he's reconciled and rehabilitated. And for me, that's going to take at least 2 years. So there might be some teams. But again, to me, if you were to do that to Antonio Brown without those steps, to me, that's just exploitation of somebody that's mentally, ill. So that's how I feel about it. All right. So lastly, I wasn't going to do this at first, but I said whatever. So the Pro Bowl Skills Challenge happened. Pro Bowl's happening tomorrow. And I know some people take this the wrong way, so I'm going to be careful with what I say here. Let me say, number one, I like that they added this thread the needle competition. I think is very interesting. I think they need to tweak it after seeing it play out. Something like quarterback, like these guys are competitors. First of all, they're going to take it's all like fun, like, oh, these options. They don't care. They're like high performing students. They're going to find the easiest route to win. They're not trying to actually play the game. They're trying to circumvent the game. So they might have to change some things around a little bit because you can see all the quarterbacks was doing the same thing. But for the most part, like I was saying, I like it. It's interesting. It really, because this is a skill. And you got these defensive backs that are great defensive backs. It was fun. I really like the whole concept. I would say check it out. Now, I will just say this. I won't say any names. But I think it's interesting that last year and this year, they did a thing with the precision passing where they put 9 quarterbacks in. And they did the same thing this year. And we can all say what we want about these skills competitions, of course. It's fun in games. It's not a correlation exactly. The combine is not an exact correlation. You can be amazing in the combine, doesn't mean much. But I will say some things just raise my eyebrows. And I think these certain type of quarterbacks that people are in love with, it is interesting how you got 9 quarterbacks that throw better than them. Like just pure, and it might not be, it's not game time accuracy, but pure ball placement. It is interesting at which quarterbacks we love that can't even put the ball placement where they want with no pressure and no defenders. And you got receivers that can do it better than them. It's just interesting. And then you also have the thread the needle competition. And again, that's really about ball placement. Now, if you've been on a team or you might have seen like the little trash can game, a lot of teams like to do that. Some quarterback groups like to do it. One team I was on, the quarterbacks would do that every day after practice with the QB coach. And so sometimes the third string quarterback was the best at the game. Sometimes the first string quarterback was amazing at the game. It's just a game. And the trash can's a little different. They make these nets now, like those are actual passing tools. And so you'll see, and I'm surprised they don't have it at the combine yet, but you'll see in practices, people use these nets, these throwing nets. I forgot what they're called, but they actually use that because they feel there is a relevancy to your ability to place the ball there, especially with no pressure. And so then you put these defensive backs out there too. And it's just interesting to see the results is all I'll say. That's all I'm going to say about it. So anyway, go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about all that. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.